I rise pursuant to Standing Order 52.1 to make a statement on a matter of national concern, namely the roles, welfare, working conditions and functionality of deputy governors across the country. Mr. Speaker, the Office of Deputy Governor is established under Article 179(5) of the Constitution of Kenya, which provides that each county shall have a county executive committee comprising the governor and deputy governor, as well as members appointed by the governor with the approval of the county assembly from among persons who are not members of the assembly. This constitutional architecture is intended to ensure continuity of executive authority in the county, including enabling the deputy governor to assume the roles, functions, and powers of the governor as may be required. However, Mr. Speaker, this constitutional office has increasingly been rendered ineffective by some governors. Holders of the office have consistently reported denial of official vehicles, arbitrary closures of their offices, withholding of budgetary allocations to facilitate the office, and a blatant disregard of the spirit of the Constitution in the administration of devolved units. The offices of governor and deputy governor are meant to complement each other while providing stability and continuity for the county. Instead, many deputy governors now operate merely at the mercy of governors, reduced to peripheral roles, deployed on a whim and shut out from access depending on gubernatorial moods. Mr. Speaker, sir, this Senate has previously attempted to remedy this situation through the County Government Laws Amendment Bill, Senate Bills number 52 of 2024, whose object was to amend the County Governments Act to provide for specific functions for the office of the Deputy Governor. We are yet as a House to prioritize this bill and accelerate its passage into law so as to give clarity, protection and proper legitimacy to this office. Without clear statutory backing, we cannot entrench the office and move it from being a face of humiliation, dehumanization and neglect, an outcome that reflects a glaring failure of our systems. Focused action on this matter would help bring to an end the current administrative ambiguity and strengthen executive coordination within county governments. Mr. Speaker, even as we await action on that law, it is imperative that we as a Senate, in exercising our oversight mandate pursuant to Article 96 of the Constitution, launches an inquiry into the welfare and working conditions of all deputy governors. This is made even more critical by the possibility that many holders of the office may be suffering in silence, a situation that sustains the negation of devolution and the shrinking of the democratic gains made in the country's long journey of constitutionalism. The practice of rendering the office of deputy governor non-functional should be treated as deliberate and not accidental. It amounts to impunity, particularly when one considers that deputy governors are ordinarily running mates of governors at election time, yet many relationships deteriorate soon after the elections, with adverse consequences for service delivery and stability in the counties. This power play is dangerous and must be addressed. Mr. Speaker, it is unfortunate that 16 years since the promulgation of the 2010 Constitution, we still grapple with such critical issues of devolution as the functionality of the office of the deputy governor. Additionally, the abuse of power by some governors in their relationships with their deputies is testament to the fact that a new constitution does not by itself eradicate old regressive habits and attitudes. For this reason, I urge the Senate to stand firm as the institution of last resort in safeguarding devolution, serving as vigilant watchdogs of the Constitution where other institutions have faltered. The plight of deputy governors may be one of the many constraints to effective devolution, but while it is before us, we have no option but to resolve it in a manner that assures citizens that this House remains true to the ideals of the Constitution. I thank you, Honourable Speaker.